Alright, I know I wasn't tagged, but I want to do this anyway because a lot of the things on my list I haven't seen anywhere else, and also it's fun. Hi guys, my name is Billy and I'm silly, and this is Billy's a Silly, and today I'm going to be talking about my childhood trauma, which is the movies and TV shows and actually a book that scared me as a kid. If you don't know who started this whole thing, I don't know if you would call it a trend or not. Adam from Your Movie Sucks started it. Here's his channel right here. You should go watch it after this. Watch this one first. Okay, so I have about 10 movies and TV shows and books that scared me as a kid. And while these scared me as a kid, they might not necessarily scare me anymore. And they might not scare you now. And they might not even have scared you as a kid. But, you know, this is my list. So this is what personally scared me as a kid. So yeah, let's get this started. I chose a very appropriate month for this. Happy Halloween. Alright, I'm going to go from least scary to most scary. So these first few movies probably won't be very scary at all. First on my list is Ernest Scared Stupid. Now, I don't remember a whole lot about this movie aside from the monsters, but I remember vividly the first time I ever watched this movie. I was camping with my family and my cousin suggested we watch it, so we watched it. And I couldn't sleep all night because I was scared there were trolls that were going to turn me into wood. And even at the time, I thought it was kind of stupid how the creatures, or goblins I think they were, turned you into wood and that they were defeated by milk.
No! You sure this milk thing's gonna work? We're gonna find out. Works, Dad! It really works!
That's like equally as dumb as being defeated by music in Mars Attacks. So it didn't scare me too much, but still the look of them was always off-putting and they creeped me out. And I think that the goblins like came out in some places unexpectedly, and that caught me off guard and made me a little wary.
Oh, Snuffies, it's just you.
So overall, I don't remember much about it, and except for the monsters, and it didn't really scare me much aside from the design of the monsters. They genuinely look gross and kind of scary. Up next is an episode of a TV show called The Haunted that I saw on Animal Planet. I think I actually caught a glimpse of it a couple of nights ago, but it was on Animal Planet. This was a paranormal TV show that was on Animal Planet. I think that they loosely tied it in with the fact that animals can sense ghosts sometimes. Shush, it's just on Animal Planet, okay? Now, the whole show didn't really creep me out much, but there was one episode in particular that freaked me out. I can't remember the exact name of the episode, but it was about a succubus. This couple were being haunted by this succubus, and one night he caught a recording of it out in the woods.
I was asleep in my bedroom. Something had woken me up.
So I went out the back. I started hearing this ungodly scream. My heart was pounding. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm heading on to my backyard now. I walked closer to the fence, and the screams were even louder.
Yeah, that's a freaking fox. At the time, I didn't know what a fox scream sounded like, and I think if you listen to it just right, even now, it kind of sounds like a woman's scream. But this freaked me out as a kid, and I jumped up out of bed and turned the channel and watched cartoons until I fell asleep. I don't remember a whole lot of episodes from this TV show, aside from that one episode that scared me. It was on mostly at night, and even saying that, it didn't really scare me that much except for that one episode. I think it's because I didn't really believe in any of the ghosts, but this one kind of convinced me because they had a recording of it, so it had to be real, right? Next up is the Don Bluth movie, Anastasia. I feel like Don Bluth shows up on a lot of childhood trauma lists. Shows up on mine twice. Yeah, I found this on Netflix a few nights ago, and I remembered it, and I remember there was something creepy in it, but I couldn't really remember what it was. Besides it being glaringly historically inaccurate and scary in some places, it didn't really offer much. I mean, the music was pretty forgettable, except for that one scene. Except for that one song, the villain song, Rasputin. I mean, it's okay. I just wouldn't watch it again. The only reason I watched this was for this video. But there were a couple scenes that actually scared me as a kid. There were some intense moments, and the villain being a literal rotting corpse was pretty bad, especially at the end. But there's this one scene that's not as scary as the others, but they're on a train and they've been separated from the other carts, and they're just rushing along at great speeds, and they're cracking jokes.
What was that? I don't know, but there goes the dining car.
What? I didn't go to film school. But they make it out of the train situation alive. It wasn't the scariest. The only thing that really spooked me was when that tiny little green demon thing made a face in the window mirror. In the window. Towards the middle end part. There's a scene on the boat when she's sleepwalking and the demons have made this little dream for her. And it's all happy roses and daisies, yay!
Hello, sunshine. Hello. Jump in.
Until this little part with the...
I know!
Yes. Jump! The Roman curse.
Many nightmares were had. What really got to me, I think, as a kid, was grotesque imagery. Not so much like perilous situations, because almost every Disney movie had perilous situations, but it was more the grotesque, scary imagery that really got to me as a kid. And that was what was in that. So, there's one more scene that spooked me as a kid, and that's towards the end of the movie when Rasputin is defeated. His body just kind of disintegrates. Yeah, gross. It didn't super bother me as a kid, but it made me like, ugh, gross. So yeah, overall, Anastasia is pretty forgettable. The only reason I really watched it was for this video. And the scary things I remember being scary are still kind of spooky to me. Overall, it's alright. I probably wouldn't watch it again. Next up is a Disney film, Atlantis. Okay, so the whole plot of Atlantis is they're trying to get to Atlantis. So they end up in submarines and they're on the way to Atlantis, and then suddenly they find something on the radar. And this still kind of spooks me as an adult. The Leviathan I could never fully see as a child, except for really the eyes, because my TV was one of those old TVs that you couldn't really adjust the brightness on. So I was stuck wondering what exactly this thing looked like. I was more intrigued than scared, but at the same time I was freaked out by it. I wanted to know what this thing actually looked like. And speaking of eyes, this thing is huge. A full-grown human isn't even the size of its eye.
Jim Christmas, it's a machine!
And it's a machine, how wonderful. This thing is massive. And I think that's what scared me about it. It's so much bigger than you, there's no way you could even hope to defeat it. And if you weren't defeated by it and its giant scary laser blaster, God, you would be let out into the open water and crushed into dust by the water pressure. How lovely. There is no way you can really escape this thing, aside from how they did. But still, it's huge, it is deadly, and if it doesn't kill you, the water will. And that's what really scared me, and still kind of does scare me, about this thing. And there's another part towards the end of the movie, but it needs a little explaining. So the whole thing about Atlantis is that it's powered by these little crystals. The main princess turns herself into a crystal, and then the main bad guy plans to sell her or something. It was money. The point is money. But while he's trying to escape with Kira, the main protagonist, Milo and his group of misfits and their cool, I think they're cool, group of flying animals go and try to defeat him. And then Milo and this guy end up fighting on the thing, trying to get them to the surface. And the scariest part isn't even the beginning, where it starts to get scary. First off, this guy starts to go after Milo. Jesus! Those are murder eyes. Those are murder eyes. The guy ends up being cut by the glass, which starts to turn him into a crystal. And if he didn't already look scary enough, the sounds this thing makes are just, ugh, it gets under my skin. It makes me, like, feel ill. Ugh, I hate it. I've had nightmares where this guy comes after me, and I'm terrified. Help me! You don't even know if you can defeat him, and he's just coming after you and making these terrifying noises. And it really spooked me as a kid, and it still spooks me. I still hate the noises this thing makes. Ugh. Those were the only really scary things from Atlantis, but I watched this movie a lot. And the whole scene where Kira turns into a crystal, I would recreate with my dolls. Yeah, I was a weird kid. I would lift them up to the light bulb, or the lights in my room. Just like, ooh, you're a crystal now. I don't know, I was a weird kid. Next on my list is two movies, actually, and I think they're by the same guy. They're both Bible movies too, wowee! The Prince of Egypt and Joseph, King of Dreams. I think these are the only two really good Bible movies out. Don't hurt me, yeah. They're both animated beautifully, especially Prince of Egypt. This movie is gorgeous, like wow. And they both have pretty good soundtracks, especially Prince of Egypt. But they each had little things that scared me by themselves. The whole movies themselves didn't really scare me, but it was just things in the movies that scared me. For Joseph, King of Dreams, it was the dream sequences. And as a child, I did not understand what metaphors were. This is a metaphor. Yeah, I'm scared. It's a scary demon thing. So the whole thing is Joseph can kind of tell the future from his dreams. And the first dream sequence is with wolves and sheep. And yeah. It's the least spooky of them, but it still got to me as a kid. Especially how it ends with the jump scare wolf. Not a fan. The second dream sequence is predicting someone's death. He predicts one of his jailmates' deaths. The second dream isn't as creepy, but it does talk about his inevitable death by beheading and then crows feasting on his corpse.
I'm taking 3 baskets of bread to Pharaoh, one on top of the other, when the baskets fall. I go to pick up the bread, and suddenly a swarm of birds come out of nowhere and attack me. They keep pecking at me in the face and the eyes. What does it mean?
The 3 baskets also signify 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will behead you, and birds will feed on your flesh.
And then the third dream he had was of these cows, and sickly cows, and then the grain.
I'm standing by the Nile. 7 healthy cows graze peacefully on the banks. But then, 7 horrible, sickly cows come from the same river. The most wretched I have ever seen in Egypt. Suddenly they begin to devour the healthy cattle. And yet the cows remain as sickly as before.
I was predicting a famine and sickness that would wipe out their food supply. But as a child, I was just like, well, there's a snake thing it's gonna eat everything. I would hear the words and understand what they were saying, but I wouldn't fully comprehend it. Prince of Egypt is a little darker. It involves child murder. I remember there was this part, it's during a nightmare that he has, where there's just dead babies and they're just being ripped away from their mother, and it's not fun. And then the plagues were scary to me. Not the scariest thing, but, you know, death of your firstborn by a scary fog gas that skips over houses that have lamb's blood above the door. But one part I actually do really like is the Red Sea part. That is the most breathtaking shot. Just wow. I would totally recommend both of these movies, actually. Unlike some of the movies on this list, I would totally recommend these two. They're gorgeous, they have nice music, and they're the best Christian movies I have ever seen. So yeah, that's like my 10 to 6. But this video is probably already pretty long. And I don't want to sit here for 20 hours and talk about stuff that scared me as a child. So instead, I'm going to split the video here. Make sure to like, favorite, and sub if you want to see the next part that'll be up eventually. I think my number 1 might surprise some people, but then again it might not, because it is a kind of dark children's tale. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Jerk.